Hey guys, Anime-kun here. In today's video, we're going to talk about the top 10 post-apocalyptic anime volume 2. What would have happened if the pandemic actually led to having a post-apocalyptic world? Good thing there's a vaccine available already. So go and be vaccinated if you can. Now the anime in this list will be about how they survive in their world after being hit by a calamity or something like that. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more videos about anime. So, without further ado, let's begin. With contaminoids invading the Earth, humanity is forced to shelter themselves in man-made mobile cities called regios. With the threat of extinction apparent, humans are forced to learn how to use weapons called DEET, using the power of K, in order to ensure their survival. Leifan Olsif is a student looking for a change of scenery from fighting on the front lines. He moves from his hometown to the academic city of Zwelny, seeking for a more normal life to forget his past and to abandon military arts itself. This plan, however, quickly goes into shambles on his very first day of school. His martial arts are quickly noticed by the student council president when he was settling down a commotion. This leads to him being forced into joining the military arts curriculum in the school. His extreme combat capabilities are a result of his hometown of Glendan being abundant with contaminoids, forcing him to fight in order to survive. This series revolves around Leifan's search for a new and normal life in Zwelny and how he is forced to go back into the front lines to fight in order to continue his survival.
Amy と名乗っている。機関がどこから来たのか尋ねている。
Having a post-apocalyptic and struggling Earth is one trope, being forced out of Earth and thinking that no life can exist there is another. Gargantia on the Verdurous planet is set on a context where humans were forced out of the planet and is combat with an alleged alien species for so long that everyone has to be a soldier and distinguish themselves in service just to gain rights to visit Avalon, the home of the remaining humans living in the outer space. Red, the protagonist, would have had his visiting rights after his last battle, but due to some circumstances during their crossfire with the aliens, his robot gets caught in a distortion and crashes to what would be Earth after many or so years. History taught them that the Earth was not any more inhabitable, but he is surprised to find humans living on the planet in a more primitive manner. Not on any piece of land, but on ships, made mostly from salvaged materials of the past. This anime has a lighter post-apocalyptic tone and approach in matters concerning both aliens and artificial intelligence, but is nonetheless worth the watch.
識別完了。デフレクタービームスタンバイ。殲滅。
今度の娘は下手だね。
With a war leaving the world in ruins, causing decline in population and regression in technology, it has become harder for people to survive daily. Traversing through this dark and tumultuous world devoid of happiness is Kanata Sarami, a young girl whose life changed after witnessing a performance of a trumpet piece of amazing grace by a young woman. This experience left such an impression on the young girl, prompting her to enlist in the military to learn how to play the trumpet. This story revolves around Sarami and how she slowly adjusts to life at the fortress, learning more about music and the post-apocalyptic world around her. It follows her adventures to become a bugler and a soldier, with her positive mentality being an important catalyst in facing the tumultuous world haunted by war, forming bonds with her platoon, and helping people in need. This anime portrays a story of experiencing the beauty of life and finding joy in the world, even if the world seems to be slowly coming to ruin.
音は必ず響く。必ず響く。必ず響いて。そして伝わる。
初めて見たぜ。
The thing about utopias? That's right, hidden stuff beneath it and the ever-bland society. Number 6 is an anime occurring in the place that's also called Number 6, where it is a progressed city-state where everything seems perfect. There are houses, enough food supply, places to go to. Practically it's like the normal usual life within huge walls that make it seem like a bloody war did not occur years prior to the creation of city-states. Nonetheless, perceptions are bound to change once anyone has caught a whiff of difference from everyone's awfully similar lives. That's exactly what happens with Shion, an elite resident who encounters a boy named Nizumi, who turned out to be from the wasteland beyond the walls. Just like any utopian society, irregularities are grounds for removal, and Shion taking in Nizumi resulted in his loss of status and relocation. Number 6 is a great anime in a different post-apocalyptic take. It appeals mostly to shonen ai lovers, but you really got to have the patience or probably be familiar with the novel if you really want to uncover the secrets of the city-states.
待ってろよ、ナンバー6。いつかお前の病巣をえぐり出してやる。
ごめんなさい。おかしないですか。里は今物資不足なんです。
As suggested by its title, this anime revolves around a world where the population of humanity has greatly been reduced. What has once been a large and developed civilization has now fallen into regression and has been overtaken by a race of fairies whose existence is dependent on fun and sweets. While humans have regressed to a point of a simpler life experiencing less privileges, fairies, with their never-ending smiles, are beings that have acquired tremendous supernatural powers that defy logic and have immensely developed their civilization. However, while their powers are defiant of human logic, fairies are immensely afraid of humans, prompting that humans and fairies never coexisted and do not interact with one another. In order to bridge a connection between the two races, it is up to the nameless Watashi, often called Miss Sweets, to mediate between humans and fairies and to push for them to be able to coexist with one another for the benefit of both races. The anime is mostly about Watashi putting up with the fairies and being involved in their misadventures in this post-apocalyptic land, lending her a medium to dive deeper into the eccentricities of fairy life and a medium to establish a connection between the two races.
ひるまないで。みんなでかかれば大丈夫。わ。
What's one thing that can possibly show a post-apocalyptic scene? Robots. How do we make it more complicated? Robots suddenly having souls. What more to make it seem post-apocalyptic? Make it so that they have murderous intent, or at least some of them underhandedly. Sounds a little bit just like the Terminator, but ergo proxy is more than that. The anime is set in the domed city of Ramdo, where it is the only livable place considering how an ecological catastrophe doomed the rest of the planet some thousands of years ago. The main selling point of this show is not just in its unique take with humanoid robots and the post-apocalyptic context, but is focused on how the characters are well-rounded with possibly conflicting desires that would either interfere or intersect with one another in the anime. Assuming that you have overcome the slow pace of the first half of the episodes, that is, the momentum after that is picking up, so it's still definitely worth the watch, especially with each episode seemingly leaving some form of question regarding the world and the characters. The world after a nuclear fallout. A seemingly purposeless human existence. Scarce resources. Lawlessness. All of these pretty much sound cliché when talking about post-apocalyptic settings, but back in the days, this was an absolute banger, and what more should we do than pay respects to one of the greatest classics to ever use this kind of setup, Fist of the North Star. But this isn't some kind of scavenging for guns, bullets, or whatever. It's a fight of martial arts mostly. Wherever the main character in the name Kenshiro goes, trails of broken bones and blood will follow. And it's not just because he kills everyone, he's more peaceful compared to practically every savage thug he encounters in his fiancée retrieval mission. It's just that everyone else decides that they want to mess up this random guy, but ends up getting brutally defeated with his deadly fighting form called Hakudo Shinken, a technique that utilizes the multiple pressure points of the human body to internally disrupt his opponents. If this doesn't sound badass enough, the most famous phrase from this anime might compel you to watch it.
お前はもう死んでいる。何？
どうしようもなくヘタレで。俺がついててやらなけりゃ。
A long time ago in this fantasy world, people exclusively lived and thrived in the ocean. As time came along, however, some of the sea people decided to live on land, moving away from sea and seeking shelter on terrain. Ages later, the population became split between land and sea, this separation bringing about tension and discrimination in between them. Nagi no Asakara follows a circle of middle school students from the sea. Due to their local underwater school being closed down, they are forced to attend school above the surface. This change brought about challenges to them such as adapting to the new environment that they will be situated in, and they also have to make sure to constantly keep themselves wet in order to not dry out their protective shell which lets them live and breathe underwater. Furthermore, the current tension between land and sea is a huge hurdle that hinders the group in adjusting to this new environment, being squished by the prejudices that both the land dwellers and sea dwellers have against each other.
いいの。本当に。地上の人間と海の人間はどうせ結ばれちゃいけないんだから。
あかり。
In a desert planet called Gunsmoke walks a terrifying and mysterious gunman with a $60 billion bounty on his head. Vash the Stampede is a walking human disaster, causing destruction everywhere he goes, inviting a lot of trouble, and inviting lots of bounty hunters after his head. While Vash was said to be responsible for the ruin and demolition of many towns and cities, including the great city of July, there was no instance of him ever killing anyone. Contrary to belief, most of the damage attached to Vash was actually brought about by the pursuit of bounty hunters for the $60 billion bounty on Vash's head. Only two things ever happen to those who catch up to Vash: they walk away wounded, usually due to self-inflicted damage, or they walk away in great disbelief that the head they were after was such a dork crazy and obsessed with donuts. Vash's crazy exploits got so out of hand that two insurance agents, Merle and Millie, were sent to track and take record of his actions, attempting to minimize his damage to the public. This anime focuses on the life and misadventures of Vash the Stampede and how his agonizing past slowly comes to light as his principles are questioned and as his morality is tainted. Thousand years into the future, humans have awakened psychic abilities from things as simple as repairing and moving objects up to the most disturbing and complex act of completely and instantly disintegrating other humans. Thankfully, that doesn't often happen by accident, as from childhood, those who have awakened psychic powers are taught on how to control their powers. But what happens to those who don't awaken psychic abilities? Saki Watanabe enters the Sage Academy, and that very question seeps from the shadows as she begins asking herself the very same thing, especially with rumored tainted cats that are said to abduct children. The anime follows her coming-of-age story together with her friends in the seemingly utopian world they live in, but the roles approaching them might be hard to embrace together with the shocking revelations of what truly is the society they live in. From the New World is a definite watch from the awfully blatant yet underhanded way of storytelling, paired with its use of multiple elements that enhances the interaction of not just the characters to each other, but the characters to the world they live in. And that's all the anime for today. I think there are a lot of interesting anime in this list that you should watch. Other than that, I hope you guys liked this video. Do you guys think there are other anime that need to be on the list? Feel free to share your comments and suggestions down below. If you want to see more anime content, make sure to subscribe and give this vid a thumbs up. Stay tuned and I will see you guys soon.